So that was the biggest thing on the trip, was how Peyton was picking up on my family's extreme accents and the fact that I really don't have one. Never really have, but
mostly
jeez. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh no. Oh, lots of oh geez. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, no, was wrong.
Was there
wrong, but...
any cry eyes?
Cry eyes?
Yeah. Oh, cry eye there.
No, we didn't. No.
Oh golly.
No,
oh, geez,
most of it was with just the O's, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the Minnesota and West is pretty much the. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Well, and you know, a lot of all the cousins that I was, including it was the people that were out there.
Yeah.
Obviously my dad and my stepmom, because, you know, they live there. But yeah, both of my mom and dad, or my stepmom and my dad grew up in Minnesota in the area. There's a long, I think I shared that my stepmom's grandmother is who my dad and my mom bought their farm from north of Minneapolis.
Okay.
That's how the whole family knows each other. Anyway.
Got it.
So my aunt Kathy was out there, which is my dad's little sister, one of them. He's got three little sisters. And then her daughter Jenna and her other daughter Frankie. Was there anyone else? I think it was just those three. Trying to think just to make sure. I'm sorry if any of you who are listening who was there and I for some reason forgot about you. But I don't think I did. Anyway, so they were out there. All three have now moved to Wisconsin.
Because they're smart.
Right. And then, of course, my Aunt Kathy also has several children. She has 6 to be exact. So Jenna moved to Wisconsin. Frankie's moved to Wisconsin. Stevie, who's also my godson and my cousin, moved to Wisconsin. Jacob is the youngest. He's in Fargo right now, but I think he's moving somewhere else. I don't think he's moving to Wisconsin yet. He's still in school yet. And then my oldest cousin, who's a year younger than I am, and also Kathy's oldest daughter, Brenna, and her family are all moving to Wisconsin.
Wow.
Yeah. So everyone in that part of the family, not everyone, but a lot of them are moving to Wisconsin. And I just say that I was thinking of you the whole time as they were talking about the fact that they were all moving to Wisconsin. Now they weren't going all the way over to Madison. They're all, I think Osceola is where Jenna lives. And my aunt lives north. And I think one of them, Stevie lives somewhere around Hudson.
So that area to the northeast Wisconsin is very much Minnesota.
Yeah, pretty much.
A lot of people come over from the cities, and and property is, I would say it's probably similar, but it's a little more expensive in Minnesota when you go north.
Yeah, and the taxes are a little bit higher
north
too.
Wisconsin, not necessarily in Minnesota. In Wisconsin, they often are, but
really
depends where. Oh yeah.
See, that's one of the reasons that a lot of people I know from Minnesota move to Wisconsin is because it's just cheaper in general.
The taxes are lower, but
really, okay.
I guess it depends.
I'll take your word for it. I have no freaking idea.
Yeah, if you rent or something like having lived there, let's just say that we saw them climb quite consistently. So, anyway, they're much less in Florida, which is really good. And substantially less in Florida when your house is not built. So
right, I bet. Yeah.
Yes, apparently vacant land is not that expensive for tax.
Right. Well, so in the last episode we talked quite a bit about Tennessee and how the prices are rising.
Sure.
That said, tax-wise, we're still, even though our property taxes last year went up almost 30%, which is a pretty big chunk, we're still cheaper than most places.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they were so low from the beginning.
Exactly. It was a market correction.
It was funny when I bought my first house. I wasn't sure, what our taxes, good, bad, how much are they? And so I called my brother who had owned a couple of houses, and he had one on a golf course in Wisconsin and kind of big bucks. And at that time, Illinois was quite inexpensive comparatively. And so this house we bought also on a golf course. I told him, I said, the taxes, I don't know, if they're in line with what it costs in Wisconsin. I said, he says, well, how much are they? I said, it's like $1,400 a year. And he hung up on me. It was about a third of what his were at the time. And now I shudder to think what his are. But, so it's, you got to like the property taxes. You just got to.
Well, and then of course in Minnesota, if property taxes, if you live on a lake, they actually reclassified around the time, I would say around 2010, around the time my mom died, they reclassified people that lived on certain rivers as lake property.
Really?
So even my mom lived on the Mississippi, and she was in the tax bracket of a lake property. So her taxes doubled.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty nasty.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, and that's, there's an opportunity for some money. You want to go
absolutely.
after it, I guess, apparently. So
absolutely.
So one thing we were going to talk about, that I have kind of enjoyed recently, because as you and I get started here, we kind of go through our, anybody that does a podcast or these days, watches a podcast, you kind of want to position yourself appropriately to the microphone and all of that.
Right. A fist.
And fist is what I was taught, but you look and there are some like this. I can't. I love the ones that have them way down here. I'm like, First of all, the technology is so good now that the recording technology, that people that are doing that still sound great, which I'm pretty impressed by. That's true. And you can adjust it too. I mean, you've got your mixer, so you can, make it work really wherever you want to be. So this becomes less of a thing. But what it reminded me of was one of the movies that Lisa and I just watched. And it wasn't the first time we saw it, but it was one we had seen before, The King's Speech.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the movie, there's, the guy gargling and he's doing all sorts of crap, and he's measuring with two hands away from the microphone, the wireless, as they called it, because it was on the radio.
Sure.
What a good movie that is.
It really is. It really is
truly an amazing movie. And it's what now, 10 years old or something like that, probably. Just quality acting stem to stern. And anyway, it was kind of fun. That's what this reminded me of as we come in is, how careful they were, how close to, and people and Bertie was freaked out by the whole thing.
Yeah.
And gosh, if you're going to spend your whole, he was more nervous about that than anything. And so, it's not about raising kids, and it's not about, being this figurehead, in a country that was in the midst of a war with Germany. It's
speaking.
Worried about speaking on the radio.
Yeah.
And there was one part of it where he was like in a stadium, and this was before he got any of the training, but the echoing.
Yeah.
And you don't think about that, but that was quite prevalent back in those days, and, to some degree now too. But, he would say something and you'd have to pause.
Right. To pause for the
echo to come back through. And so hence every speech was choppy.
Yes.
Like that, because it had to be.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And there are other things too, half the time, I know you don't see it, but on my end, I'm watching our audio levels bounce.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain ways that you have to have the audio levels set. And I mean, there's just a lot more to it than just talking into a microphone. And again, the technology, that's what I'm getting to the point of the echo. We actually have echo cancellation on. Actually, both of ours are shut off right now, but that's because we're both in rooms that don't really echo. But we can turn that on, and I've got everything running through a board. I think part of why you're talking about this too is because through the magic of podcasts, guys, this is definitely a different day from the last podcast that we recorded. I am not wearing the same clothes, and neither's John. This is not, 5 minutes recorded 5 minutes after the last one. Not at all.
I can always pull that off because I always wear the same T-shirt.
That's true. You can.
And people think, do you just dress like that for the podcast? On YouTube?
Yeah.
No, but I've got a reason for this, because let me just sell you on it. Today it's shorts because I'm in Florida and it's 90 plus degrees.
Well, I'm in shorts too.
Yeah, and because it's hot.
Yeah.
And camo shorts, because if I spill something, no one knows.
Nice.
Shirt, black, slimming, and Lord knows I need slimming, but also if I spill something on it, it doesn't show.
Yeah.
If you get sweaty, I've seen people with gray shirts in Florida, and whether you're at the gym or you're just walking around, and they've got pits.
Yep.
And they've got,
well,
really?
I wear these. These are long sleeve, but these are the summer, the fishing long sleeve, where it's really thin and it's.
Yep.
This is actually 32 Cool. Not a sponsor,
which I love.
I know you love them. That's why I bring it up. And it's soft and it's very thin. So this actually is designed to be long sleeve, but also keep you cool.
And they do. Again,
they really
there's
do.
that the advancements in technology when it comes to clothing. It's amazing. But so that's they can't tell that it's a different day on me, because they say he always wears the same crap.
Right.
And I threw on a hat.
I know that threw everyone off. That really did.
It threw you off. What happened to John?
Right. I wear the same hat every single time. So
Nick, it's me with a hat. You do not.
I could turn on my light, which would make things a little bit different. Anyway, so I say that because I'm looking at the technology going, my video is awfully grainy right now, but I don't care. No, so the reason I had actually started, I'm going to go back to the very beginning, started talking about my cousins for two reasons. One, again, we didn't do the last podcast 5 minutes ago. And in that last podcast that we didn't do 5 minutes ago, we didn't talk the entire time about my trip. Or we did, actually. We did talk about my trip the last time. So
I was going to say, that doesn't really change the content.
Anything. No. The last one, I completely bogarted the entire podcast to talk about my trip.
Nice.
This one, and why I was talking about my cousins going to Wisconsin, last week you were in Wisconsin. Which is also why we did a classic episode. We were both, I was home, but you were traveling. So I want to hear about your trip to Wisconsin.
Wow, way to set it up. Well, actually, I met all your cousins, and
they were with me.
Got together. We decided, last week. We decided we're going to do an intervention.
Don't blame you. So it's a good decision to make.
Yes, they're trying to get you to move to Wisconsin. I said
they were trying very hard, to be perfectly honest.
And you're not going to.
No. There's a better chance of me moving to North Dakota than there is of me moving to Wisconsin. And there's almost 0% chance of me moving to North Dakota.
Good. Because you would not be happy.
Probably not.
We had a nice time. I got to see my mom. My mom, if you are a new listener or viewer, is 92 years old.
92 years young.
92 years young. No, 93.
93 years young.
Sorry, Mom. 93 years young. And is remarkable. And I've said this for some time. She will probably outlive me. She's just in good shape. And at 93, you have things that you deal with, and she has some of those, some balance issues and things like that, but lives on her own. Thanks to some really good neighbors, and most of my siblings are close thereby geographically to her. So that makes it easier. And anyway, it's just fun to get up to see her when we have some time, and got to spend a couple of nights there, and enjoyed that very much. And then we just hung out with our friends Matt and Carrie, and had just an awesome time. Went back to our old church and did that on Sunday, of course, and just had a fun time. It was kind of a nice getaway just for a little bit to see some people we hadn't seen.
That's awesome.
And, just kick
and for our listeners that don't know, John's mom's first name is Sorry. Because that's what we always say. Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom. Yeah. No, it is Lolo, or that's what we're calling her. I think my niece started that, Lolo. But yeah, she is Grandma Lois. And she's great. She's just awesome and doing
that's
really
great.
well. So if you're listening, Mom, rock
on. Hi, Mom. And sorry, Mom.
You can't fault me for saying she's 92. She could pass for 80.
That's awesome.
Easily. And I think, she looks great and is in great shape. So yes, we are very blessed with her. And so it's always fun to get up there. We got very fortunate though, because you know how direct flights are kind of the lifeblood of a traveler, if you can. Yep. And so we flew out of Punta Gorda, which is 20 minutes from us here in Florida. And it's a small airport. It is about the size of Madison, I would say, that airport. And we flew into Rockford, Illinois, which is about an hour from my mom's in southern Wisconsin. And it was so easy. 2 really nice airports and a piece of cake.
We drove through Rockford on the way down here, and Jen actually said, I don't remember this place. It's awfully cute. And I just I was like,
It's kind of an oasis area on 2 interstates. You know, you've got 39 and 90. And you can go straight south in Illinois on one, and you go straight to Chicago on the other. And it's fine. It's it's kind of a bedroom community. It's about an hour from Chicago. It has its positives and negatives.
People that have frequented, I can't say that word. You have to say that for me.
You just
frequented it. Usually have the reaction that you and I just kind of had. Is like,
it's fine. It has. There are some very nice people there, and it does. And the airport is awesome for flying in and out. It was a piece of cake. We weren't sure. So the rental car, National, ding, not a sponsor. I made the arrangements with them. I've used them for some time, and they close at 5 p.m. Our flight got in at 5:01 p.m.
No.
So I called the week before and said, just so you know, this is the case. And I'm in their Emerald Club and all of that. And they said, well, you know, and you see the number and it's a local number. Maybe I can talk to someone at that desk and, you know, let them know. And no, they send you to corporate. And I'll make note in your file that you're going to be coming in, files. Someone to wait. And why would they? And so anyway, as it turned out, though, we got in about 15 minutes early. Lisa and I bolted, didn't check a bag on Allegiant, ding, not a sponsor, Airlines. You pay for a carry-on. So you have your personal item, and then you pay for a carry-on. We split this is how cheap we are. We split a carry-on. So the 2 of us packed all our crap in one, and it was fine. You know, you throw it up in the overhead and you're good to go. But good news, we didn't have to wait for luggage, which sometimes can be slow on these smaller airlines. So anyway, we raced down to the rental car place. We were there probably 10 to 5. And dude is saying there, and I'm John. He says, Mr. Q. I said, yeah, yes. He said, I got you all set up right out here. You just go, just need your driver's license. Good. I said, well, I need this again. Nope. You just run out there, drive right out. You're good to go. And I knew I had rented like a econo box, let's call it.
I call them shit boxes, but okay.
That's what they were. And I'm like, whatever, you know, because it was about 200 less to go that route than even just with a mid-size, which I often do. And I got out there and they had put me in a Toyota RAV4. Nice. And I was very pleasantly surprised. And nice car, man. The thing ran great on the twisty roads. And so anyway, it worked out great. Nice people. We came back there, returned the car. There's a lady at the desk. She said, if you're ever getting in, you know, here's my business card. You just call me directly. Let me know, and I'll make sure we have it waiting for you and ready to go. And I said, okay,
nice.
We'll see you next time, I guess. So
I'm really impressed with National. I have been. That's what I usually use, even though, and they're tied to Enterprise. I've never had a disappointment with Enterprise. But, you know, that service level is fantastic. And then when you reach a certain level, like I'm the same as you, and, you know, I've got the executive perk where I can book an economy, not an economy. I could technically, but I could book a mid-size. And then when I get there,
and then choose any car.
Yeah, I can choose pretty much any car. You know, it's once I get there, I could choose a full-size SUV if I wanted to, and at the same price, you know, it's like, why not? Or they put you in it depending on the airport you're at. But I had a very similar experience at the Tulsa airport. And I mean, the first time I was there, I was in a beautiful Audi A6. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the second time I was, it wasn't as nice. It was an Infinity Q50 Sport. But yeah, I was pretty darn happy there, you know? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. So National,
awesome.
Not a sponsor, but I'm a big fan. Definitely a big fan.
Yeah, you know what? And I have not been able to use them for whatever reason. You know, back in the company days, we had certain ones we were supposed to use, and then that became less of a thing. Whatever. But,
well, that's
they were.
That's
they were
the
great.
benefit now. National is the one they want us to use. Yeah.
Yep. And that is a benefit. I love the Emerald Isle service
fantastic.
that you're talking about, where
just
you
go
just
pick your car,
run and grab a vehicle. Yeah. And that is, it is different in smaller airports. So, you know, Rockford, I'm just surprised they have a car.
Yeah. I would say the only time
we have scooters.
The only time I ever got screwed with that whole thing, which was not, it technically was a benefit, even though it was a shit box, was Little Rock. Flew into Little Rock, and there was a few people that weren't given cars, and I just happened to have they had saved one for me because I'm executive.
Wow!
It just happened to be something that shouldn't have been a 4-seater, should have only been a 2-seater. Right. It was a little bit bigger than a smart car that I had to drive from Little Rock to Nashville. Yeah,
of course.
And they didn't have any, and they didn't have any the next day either. So it was but that was the only time. Still, I have to say, I got special treatment because of my status, and everyone else got shit on, but I still got stuck in a shit box.
And those, there have been the times when, and I'm sure you've had them too, when you get in and I don't remember where it was, like Detroit or something. The only thing they had left were minivans. Yep.
That's happened to me
before. So you're on a business trip and you're supposed to visit a client, and I got a minivan or an 8-passenger. There was an 8-passenger van.
Yep, I got that too. I got a 12-passenger van once.
I've done that as well. That's maybe what it was. Was the bigger one. Anyway, holy cow! So I was offering to take people to. I thought I would Uber. As an Uber driver.
It was unlimited miles. Why not?
Night. Exactly. And as it turned out, almost unlimited passengers. So. Yeah, that would be a good place to start that. But yeah, anybody who doesn't fly or travel a lot may not understand the whole status equation.
It really is.
It is a big deal.
So this coming week or next week, I should say, because it is the weekend. I was supposed to fly down to Texas, and I was looking forward to it because I only need 2 more flights to get bumped up to the highest status on United. And I had my tickets booked and all that. And then, of course, we already know about the whole thing with Peyton and COVID. Not that I tested negative, and I feel fine. But
you are very
always
negative. All you had to do was ask me. I tested negative.
No,
of course you did.
Shouldn't surprise anyone. Even COVID's like, he's just too negative. Anyway, so I did end up having to cancel the trip. Because on the other end, there were some concerns, and nothing's guaranteed. So I felt it better to be safe than sorry. Can always reschedule or do something different. And that's kind of how we're playing that. We're not going to go into all the crap behind it, but I was so excited because those 2 flights would have put me just boom, you're there.
Well, you probably won't fly anymore for the rest of the year.
Oh no, I will. I'm going to fly next, not this coming week, but the week after I'm flying. And it's 2 legs. And because the tickets, they're the non-refundable. So the way it works is it just goes and they're banked. So I can use them again. So that's exactly what I'll do. It's the same flight. It's the same place. So I'll use it then, but now I just got to wait that extra week going on.
So is that 1K? Is that
1K is their top?
Their top level.
I probably won't hit 1K. So this is the top that I expect to get, which is the one step below 1K. Now I might get to 1K because of all the credit card use. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Not business credit card
use necessarily. No. Yeah.
I'm very frugal when it comes to the business's money, and not very frugal when it comes to my own. Did we want to talk about the podcast setup here?
there is
camping stuff. That's actually where all the camping stuff went.
Well, so let's talk about that for a second, because I was curious. We, discussed a little bit some of the things you were thinking about. What did you find was the best purchase you made of camping stuff on your trip that you really used and got the most?
That's a loaded question. I really hope Jen. No, I really hope Jen doesn't decide to listen.
Oh, because Jen. Is she going to be surprised at what you choose?
No, I thought we made some really good, very smart choices on the things that we purchased, but we ended up not using much of it at all. Like I did get a bathroom.
That was going to be my next question.
We got a portable pop-up so we could put the porta potty in there.
Yeah.
And we only ended up using the porta potty once, which, hey, we used it once. So, what the hell? Again, a lot of it,
those are, let me just, as an aside, let me just say those are, it's just nice to have it and nice not to use it. That was the justification for everything and a few other conversations about different things outside of camping.
I bought it because if I didn't, I'd probably need it. And knowing that I had it means I probably wouldn't need it. I'd much rather spend the money and have it. And not need it, than not have it when I absolutely needed it. And a lot of things fell into that category. We bought a shower and we never ended up using it. And I do want to put the caveat on it. Part of the reasons we didn't use or camp as much as we had planned on it is because the weather.
Yep.
Bottom line, it was the weather. We
got caught in the rain the first
night I got caught in the rain,
right?
Which was fine with me. And the girls would have been fine with that too. That wasn't haze. That was the second night I got caught in the rain. The first night it was 104 degrees, with a low of 89.
Oh, yeah, right.
Second night the low was 45 degrees, which was fantastic. I slept so well.
Oh wow! In Breckenridge. And you had rain there, or what was the?
Very wet, but that was fine. I stayed nice and dry. The only thing that got wet was the tent. That's what it's there for, right?
Mm-hmm. And you had a
marine fly, and then I had another tarp that was up in the air to cover my table and stuff. So that stuff needed to dry out. No big deal.
Okay, so what was the best? What was the best thing that you really got?
I would say I bought a little propane fire pit because I didn't know there was no clear identification. You had to get out there to know where you could burn and where you couldn't. Colorado, it was fine to burn. Obviously, it was wet, but it was too wet to burn anything. Yeah. So I used my propane heater. And then when we were in the Black Hills, there was a burn ban, so you couldn't have an open fire. Although when we did get to the campsite, they did say you could burn in the fire rings because they were big metal fire rings, not just rocks.
Cool.
But we didn't anyway. So we just used the propane heater, and it was fantastic. You turn it on, you're warm. You turn it off, you go to bed. You don't have to snuff it out or anything.
Nice. And the propane heater you can cook on as well, or
you could technically, I guess, but it's really small, and you probably don't want to. But I have. I did get a lot of use. I did, and this one was actually free. Because we have a reward system at work where you get points, and that point you can go and buy stuff. I actually bought a jet boil, a little hiking jet boil. Yeah,
I've seen those.
Fantastic little thing, and that's what I use most of the time to heat my water, to make my coffee and stuff in the morning. So I used that. That was not really a purchase, but it was one of the better things that I brought along. Got a lot of use out of.
Okay, so now let's talk about the flip side. What, in hindsight, did you, and forget about the shower and the toilet and so on. In hindsight, what could you have done without? I know. Yeah. Just
no. I you know what? Honestly, the bear can. So I bought a bear can, which is a can that you put your food in that you seal, and bears can't get into it. And you're supposed to put it 100 yards away from your camp. I never did that because again, I found out later that grizzlies don't live in, and then they also said if you put it in the middle of your car and it's sealed and you can't smell anything, it's fine. So that was one item that was absolutely useless and didn't need it. I also didn't bring a lot of food with me because we didn't camp much. I think I had a can of peanut butter and then some freeze dried food, and that was about it. So yeah, that was probably my useless purchase.
Okay.
It might come in handy someday. It's not going to go. None of the stuff that we have is not going to be used at some point in the future. But that was probably for this trip was the most useless. But again, I just want to reiterate a lot of the stuff didn't get used, not because it was useless, but because we didn't camp as much as we had planned. I had planned in total to camp 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nights, and we ended up only camping 2. So,
all right. Well, and you're not counting.
I'm not counting
your dad's,
and technically that's camping because that was an camper.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wasn't counting my dad's. That would have made it 7.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's cool, and it's interesting to me because there are, and it's a whole different thing when you have a camper too. I mean, and we've talked about it, and there are Outdoorsy, not a sponsor, and some other companies that deal with rentals of campers, and that's the smart thing to do if you're thinking, maybe, or if you have a friend or father that has a camper you can try out. We should just try it to see how it is, and use it for a weekend and see what we think.
So, and on that, so I do think, and I don't know how we got back to me. I know the world revolves around me because I'm an only child. However, that was not my intention.
We all know that.
But that is something that's up for. I would like to get people's feedback on, because here's my dilemma. I do think at this point, Jen and I have both decided that we are not. Tent camping will be fine. Having the tents is still going to be a great thing, but I don't think we are true tent campers. So we have 2 tents. We have a 4-person and we have a 10-person. The 10-person is going to be great because we can actually set up 3 cots in it and have plenty of room. And I think that'll be a different experience. However,
is that big enough for a table for dining and stuff like that? Okay.
So that tent, I think that would be a game changer. However, I had said, and one of the reasons we didn't take it with is because we were going to go to a place, set up everything real quick, sleep, break it all down, go to the next place, so on and so forth. That tent is not made for that sort of traveling.
Oh,
we need the quick.
No. That's up and stay up for a week or whatever.
So the little tent is fine for what we were doing. That said, we don't sleep on the ground very well, and the cots don't fit in this tent. We could fit 1 cot in the tent, but the cots more than one.
Yeah.
So this tent is only really used for ground sleeping or for even hiking. It was small enough to put in a pack and hike with. That's not the type of camping we're going to do. So really, something like what we had talked about on a previous episode, the Cricket, is the right sized camper for us. It might even be a little bit small. The problem is, and this is where we're getting to the question that I'd like to ask some of our listeners / viewers. The camper, I can only pull with my Jeep about 3,500 pounds. And if I hit something at 3,500, that is really the absolute max. So really, when I'm looking at a camper, I've got to look for something that's 2,800 pounds dry, right? At the most. And then, you're thinking about exactly,
GBW, which includes
the stuff. And that's where the limit is. So, for example, there's the Cricket, and then above that is the Mantis. The Mantis is actually the right size and does exactly what we would want it to do, but the dry weight is 3,400 pounds. So we could literally only put 100 pounds worth of stuff in there, right? It's useless. It's beyond the max. So the Cricket is about the right size, but again, that's a little bit too small and way too expensive. So
I had a friend. Let me just interject. I had a friend who had a Jeep,
which pulls a little less. They pull about 2,700 pounds.
CJ7.
Okay, so an older one. They pull a little bit more.
I'm not sure. An older one, I think. Yeah. So it's been, 20 years ago, probably. And she had an one of the A-frame campers.
Those are within the weight.
And she pulled that. And she, across the country, she was everywhere with it.
That's the other part of it. There are a lot of options that I can pull with the Jeep. A lot of options. The problem is we have 3 people and 2 dogs. Most of the campers that the Jeep can pull can only accommodate two people. Two people comfortably. You could fit a third person in on some of them, but it's not comfortable. So I'm curious to know if anyone has any recommendations on a less expensive, not necessarily cheap, but less expensive camper that you can pull with a Jeep. Because I know in the last episode we were joking about pulling the Jeep behind a big camper, but I really, as much as we joke about that, I really don't think that's our style either, because we do want to get off into the back country. And we talked about the Opus in the past, and believe it or not, the Opus is even too heavy for the Wrangler.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me, just because it's sturdy. You get into those off-road ones, with the big knobby tires and the heavy construction. Yeah. Even if it's aluminum, it still is.
And the other option is getting one of those camping trailers that has the pop-up tent on it, which is, that would be fun. But again, we're limited to the amount of people we can have in that tent.
Sure. Well, those they do more people. You can get them where they flap down and you've got two. Yeah.
Here's the other problem. There's this thing that I know we might have maybe touched on, the fact that I get up a lot in the middle of the night to pee. And on top of that, both of our dogs are 50 pounds, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're trying to climb a ladder with those dogs.
Yeah. Well, you don't need a ladder.
The pop-up tent.
What do you need a ladder for? No, not the pop-up. I was talking about a pop-up trailer.
You're right. Yeah.
That those, they flip out on both sides and you have the room. And honestly, my friend, catheter, you could use a catheter.
Sure.
If you get up a lot. I'm just kidding. Yeah. A stadium cow.
Gross. Just one. You put the porta potty down at the bottom and just run the tube all the way down to the porta potty.
I guess so. Or outside. Well, that's what the porta potty I don't know. We had a cabin when I was growing up, and it was up, central Wisconsin, and people go, and an outhouse, which was hilarious. And I know I've mentioned it to you. The outhouse had two seats,
right?
Like you'd ever.
They're looking at each other.
So these guys, hilarious, because these guys, were funny dudes that my dad owned this place with. And they had a deal that, whenever any of them passed away, it would go on to the next, the rest of the guys. And so when he died, it's not like we had anything, but I loved it because those guys, one of whom was my godfather, would always invite me to come along, and I'd go up there. We just have some great memories, but they had the outhouse, and I was there when they moved it once. Not something I would recommend. But it had two seats and it was hilarious, and had a phone hooked up to the phone to the cabin, which was, 50 yards away, maybe. But if you're going to get up in the middle of the night and pee on the lawn, it doesn't matter. It's sandy soil. You're in the middle of 5 acres of
and you make a good point, because we were talking last week about the camping with a bunch of people around too. And there's a big difference when you're off on your own, when you're doing the dry camping or the dispersed camping. You can do that.
Yep.
Guys can do that.
Sure.
So it's not a big deal, but
yes. Well, women can. They can do whatever they want,
but when you're in a campground, it's a lot harder because, it
is not something you want to necessarily do. That's true. Especially if it's concrete,
exactly. Exactly.
Wow, this is very nice. $50 a night.
Concrete.
And you're
that too, but that also goes with the tent camping as well. It's when you're setting up your tent on a concrete pad, you're like, it's just not so comfortable. Yeah.
No. Heck.
Man. Anyway, John, do you have anything fun about Wisconsin? Because we're gonna cut this one a little bit short, because the last one was a little bit long.
We were just right. Maybe we were a little bit long. No, not about Wisconsin. But we're reaching out to our listeners and viewers, and I would like to hear. I was talking about the King's Speech, other movies we have seen recently, and I was just talking about the Top Gun Maverick.
I have not seen that. I'm waiting for it to come out on streaming.
You got to see it. Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta see it. It's
I've
worth
heard
it.
a lot of good things about it.
It really is. And it was very well done. And, I thought it was going to be overhyped and all of that. It was actually very well done. Especially if you saw the other one, there are some parts that fit together nicely. And the Elvis movie. I
saw something advertised about the Elvis movie on whatever thing I have on my TV, but I didn't.
Yeah,
really,
a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Well, we had heard, from some friends, and it's really good. It's really good. And I had seen the trailers, and the guy doesn't look that much like Elvis because I remember the young Elvis, and yeah, for sure, I do. And Lisa actually saw him in concert.
I'm not going to make any comment about that. Just before Lisa must have been before 2 or 3 he died when that happened.
She was very young. That's nice of you to say that.
You, on the other hand,
stop it. Let's not even go there, mister. But anyway, that was regardless of how, if he looks exactly like him, he did the vocals.
Really?
He sounded great.
Well, that's awesome.
Did a terrific job. So
okay.
Both of those I'll give props to. So anybody has others that you would like to share, or if you can
absolutely
thumbs up
and don't think I'm being rude. I'm trying to. I know. I'm trying to look at because there was one movie that I just watched, but I can't remember what it is. So I'm trying to look it up.
Well, you watched. It
was streaming. We haven't been to the theater in a really long time.
And I hadn't either, but we've gone to a couple now, and it.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying anything bad about theaters at all. I love going to a theater. We just haven't had time.
Yeah, but COVID, it was a weird time, and now it was kind of fun to go back into the theater.
We're not avoiding it for any other reason than we just haven't had time. Let's see.
Yep.
So there's no easy way to find the history of anything, on Netflix. Yeah.
Oh, on streaming.
Well, on some things you can.
No. Well, it's like going to the theater, though. I have to rely on my memory, which is terrible.
And you know how well I do with that. No, it wasn't the Pentaveret. That's actually not great. I was a little bit disappointed on that. I'll find it. I'll try to remember for the next time, or I won't. I will.
Well, let us know. Yeah, because it would be
it was a decent movie.
Know what your history is. We saw the newest Downton Abbey movie, and that was also very good. It was just like another episode.
I'm interested to. I'm interested that you said that, because we were kind of honestly loved it, but we were a little disappointed.
Yeah. How so? Why so?
It didn't quite. It almost felt like they were trying too hard. I think I'm hoping there'll be another one. I really do, because I love them, but at the same time, they were really. It was just kind of like, I don't know. It was still good. I don't think it was bad by any means. It just wasn't quite what we were hoping for.
Yeah. It's tough to replicate some of the earlier stuff, especially when you watch the season by season, and I don't doubt it. And Hugh Bonneville lost a bunch of weight. I was just shocked when I saw that.
Me too.
So
anyway, well, we will plan on having a movie episode.
On that note,
I think that would be fun. Yep.
Yeah, we need to. So we should get started.
I'm going to watch a whole bunch over the weekend. So anyway, folks, if you want to hear the last episode, which was not recorded 48 minutes ago. No, it was not recorded that long ago. But if you're interested in listening to that last episode or some of the previous before that, please head up to the website www.poddimouths.com. You can also see us on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, all those fun places, and many, many, many more.
Yes,
hit that like button.
Hit that like button.
Punch that. Smash that like button.
Smash it.
And hit the subscribe button. Show us your love. Show us your love. Anyway, folks, have a great week. We'll see you next week.
See ya.